For 20 years, the name John Cooper struck fear into the quiet villages of Pembrokeshire, Wales. 2 brutal double murders, and a killer who vanished without a trace. He would evade police for decades, hiding in plain sight, until a bizarre twist involving a television game show and a tiny speck of blood would finally end his freedom. This is the story of John Cooper, the Bullseye Killer. Welcome to Shadow Docket Files, where the cases buried in the shadows are brought to light. Here we dive deep into forgotten trials, chilling evidence, and the mysteries hidden in plain sight. Subscribe and join us as we open the files they don't want you to see. John Cooper was born in 1944 and grew up in Wales. Friends and neighbours described him as quiet but solitary. By all accounts, there was no early signs that he would become one of Britain's most notorious killers. He held ordinary jobs, married, had children, and on the surface appeared to be just another man living in the Welsh countryside. But behind closed doors, something darker was growing, a calculating mind capable of extreme violence for personal gain. 1985, in a small village of Pembrokeshire, Cooper committed his first known murders. Brother and sister Richard and Helen Thomas were shot at point-blank range in their family home. After the killings, Cooper set fire to the mansion, hoping to destroy any evidence that could lead back to him. Investigators were left puzzled. The crime scene offered almost no clues. There were no fingerprints, no witnesses, no leads. The killer had disappeared without leaving a trace. 4 years later, Cooper struck again. On a quiet coastal path, Peter and Gwenda Dixon were enjoying a holiday when he confronted them at gunpoint. He forced them to hand over their bank cards and pins. Then, without hesitation, he shot them both. This time, Cooper left behind a small but crucial clue. A witness who described a man at the scene and later identified him from a police sketch. But for decades, that sketch led nowhere. For years, the killer remained unidentified. Meanwhile, the man responsible continued living an ordinary life. John Cooper worked jobs around the local area, socialised with neighbours, and spent time pursuing one of his favourite hobbies, darts. He even appeared on a popular British darts game show called Bullseye. At the time, it meant nothing, but decades later, that appearance would become the key to solving the case. In 2006, Detective Superintendent Steve Wilkins reopened the unsolved murders as part of a new investigation known as Operation Ottawa. Modern forensic technology was advancing rapidly, and investigators hoped new techniques could uncover evidence that had been missed decades earlier. While reviewing old files, something unusual caught their attention. John Cooper had appeared on Bullseye only weeks before the Dixon murders. Detectives located the old television footage and examined it closely. Then something incredible happened. They paused the video, and there, on the screen, Cooper was standing in the exact same profile as the witness sketch from 1989, but the footage revealed something else. Cooper was wearing a distinctive pair of scruffy shorts. Years later, when police searched his home, they discovered those exact shorts still in his possession. Forensic scientists examined them carefully, and hidden deep within the fabric, they discovered a tiny speck of blood. Forensic expert Angela Gallup used advanced DNA techniques to analyse the sample. The result was extraordinary. The blood matched Peter Dixon, one of the victims from the Coastal Path murders. The microscopic stain had remained hidden in the fabric for more than 20 years. But it was enough. For the first time, investigators had undeniable proof linking John Cooper to the crime. By 2009, detectives had quietly built their case. After decades of uncertainty, they finally had something they had never had before. Solid forensic evidence. Armed with DNA results linking him directly to the murders, police moved in. In the early hours of the morning, officers arrived at John Cooper's home. For a man who lived freely for over 20 years, it was the end of the road. He was arrested and taken into custody, accused of 4 murders that had haunted Wales for decades. During questioning, Cooper denied everything. But investigators now had a powerful combination of evidence. The witness sketch, the Bullseye footage, and most importantly, the DNA. Piece by piece, the case against him was impossible to ignore. In 2011, John Cooper stood trial. For the families of the victims, it was a moment they had waited more than 2 decades for. The prosecution laid out the chilling narrative. A man who targeted victims for financial gain, using a firearm to control and kill without hesitation. They showed the jury the Bullseye footage, freezing the frame to match his profile to the original suspect sketch. Then came the forensic evidence, a microscopic speck of blood, hidden in the hem of the pair of shorts for over 20 years, linking him directly to the crime. The courtroom fell silent as the evidence was presented. Decades of mystery were finally being unravelled in front of the jury. After hearing all the evidence, the jury returned to their verdict. Guilty on all 4 counts of murder. The judge described Cooper as a cold and calculating killer. He was sentenced to a whole life order, meaning he will never be released. For years, he had lived unnoticed, hiding in plain sight. But in the end, it was a combination of old evidence, new science, and one unforgettable moment on television that finally brought him to justice. For over 20 years, John Cooper lived an ordinary life. He wasn't hiding in some distant place. He wasn't running. He was right there, in the same communities, on the same streets, even appearing on national television, smiling, laughing, like nothing had ever happened. And for decades, there were no answers, no arrests, no clear suspects. Just questions, and families waiting for justice that never seemed to come. Then everything changed. Not because someone came forward, not because he made a mistake in the moment, but because time caught up with him. A detective looked back at evidence everyone else had already seen. A piece of footage most people would forget. And a pair of old worn-out shorts, kept for years, without a second thought. Hidden inside them was something no one could see. A microscopic speck of blood. So small, it survived decades. Washing, time, wear. But it didn't disappear. And that was enough. Enough to reopen the past. Enough to connect the crimes. Enough to finally reveal the truth. Because in the end, It wasn't a big mistake that caught him. It was something tiny, something invisible, something he didn't even know was there. John Cooper was convicted, given a whole life sentence, meaning he will never be released. For the families of the victims, justice took more than 20 years. But it came. And this case leaves behind a chilling thought. How many people live completely unnoticed? How many secrets go unseen for years? Because John Cooper wasn't a mystery figure, he was visible, he was known, he was even on TV, and still no one knew. That concludes the video on the Bullseye killer. If you found this case interesting, you can support the channel by liking the video and subscribing for more stories just like this.